So, back. Hopefully you had a chance to check out the startup alley and see for yourself which one that you fancied and voted on the Shift Split website on the blog area. Okay, so now we have a panel discussion. Okay, again, once again led by the one and only Ivan Borazin, and today we have three distinguished people indeed. Amalia from Front Row. I'd like to welcome Amalia from Front Row here. For the delightful Amalia from Front Row.
Since I am on stage.
We also have Aleš Spetic from Cube Sensors. Okay, waiting for this one, the big finale, Mr. Stan Schroeder from Mashable.
Thanks.
And Ivan Borazin.
Hello. I just noticed that I'm going to be on stage all day. That was not a smart idea after the party. So to start off, I'll have my guests introduce themselves and just a word about each other. So Amalia, could you start off?
Yeah, so I started off as a developer and then somehow ended up in the dark side of fashion because I started working for Glamour magazine, then it was the Next Web, and now I'm working with London College of Fashion. And we have an organization called Front Row IO that supports fashion tech startups. And an accelerator is a part of that. And we're having our demo day on June 16th in London.
My name is Aleš. I run a hardware startup based in Slovenia called Cube Sensors. We make beautiful small cubes that measure everything about the indoors.
And I'm Stan Schroeder from Mashable. I write a lot about wearable tech. Back to you, Ivan.
Back to me. All right, so the discussion of this panel is wearables. Is it the time? Are wearables going to actually catch on? Is that the next thing? Is that the next phone? Is it the next platform? Whatever. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming out. Motorola has the cool watch. I saw another one yesterday. Also Google Glass. Is it a fail? It's going to pass. So what do you guys think about wearables? Are we going to start wearing them? I mean, I wear one little small one here, but.
Oh, should I start?
Yeah.
But before we start, you look a little bit tired.
Was
it like a rough night? Did you work late?
Yeah, I worked late.
Until wee hours of the morning?
4.
Yeah, it's hard. It's
yeah,
rough,
it is.
I know. So wearable tech, I think the most interesting aspect is that it's not just one thing. So you have this crazy amount of stuff happening in the space. First of all, you got Samsung Gear and Sony smartwatches, which is basically taking the concept of the smartwatch, which has been around for a while, and connected it to the smartphone. And in that way, it's opening to a much wider audience, which is interesting by itself. And then you have Google Glass, which is a completely different type of product, not ready for the mainstream, pretty expensive. But it's a different product because it lets you do things, and it gives you this layer of information without using your hands. So I've seen a lot of interesting usage scenarios, like case studies. For example, a surgeon could do an operation on a patient and have Google Glass feed him essential info about the patient, like heartbeat and blood pressure and stuff like that. And then you have Oculus Rift, another completely different type of device which gives you this immersive experience, primarily for gaming, but I see also potential for some interesting other applications. And nobody, I don't think anybody can say that which one of these is going to sort of win, but there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in this year and the next couple of years in the space.
So you think that in different spaces we'll try different sort of things, but do you think it's going to make it commercial uses? So let's say for the surgeon in Google Glass, that totally makes sense. And I saw an article, I think yesterday or the day before, that police officers have them as well. They're starting to use Google Glass. So that's a professional sort of thing. And I think that really sort of does have a use case, and that really can be something. But do you think that will ever, you'll have it in your glasses there and walk around with that?
Oh.
Because I wouldn't want to talk to you if you're wearing that.
You think I'm a glass hole, right?
Yeah.
What a glass hole, this guy. I think that, when it comes to Google Glass, I think it's a weird product. I'm very bullish on the glass, but maybe not in its current shape and form. I think it's an early version of something that's going to come in 5 or 10 years. It's going to be a lot smaller, a lot cooler. And I think that at one point it might happen that you could have like regular glasses, or you could have like smart glasses which give you a lot of info, and I think it's might just be like why would you have regular glasses? We could have smart glasses. So why would you have a dumb phone if you can have a
your
smartphone?
iPhone is an extension of your hand. So in a sense, it is wearable tech. You wear it, you take it with you all the time. You just don't put it on you, but you have it in your pocket. So it's part of your outfit in a sense. It's, it's in your daily routine. I think, the industry has a lot of things going on right now. So then there's a lot of enthusiasm and money going around wearable tech. Everybody wants to see it happen. You have Google pushing forward and, in a sense, opening up the market for the smaller players. But, I think it's still kind of too soon to tell if they will finally get the timing right, because this is actually the second time around there is a lot of buzz around wearables. So right before the bubble in the 90s, wearables was again something like that. Everybody wanted their hands in it. Adidas was doing a lot of things. Siemens were doing a lot of things. And a lot of people that are in wearable startups now had started way back then in projects like that. But then after the bubble, nobody really, people stayed in more safest and mainstream thing. Nobody really wanted to push the envelope at the time. So it's really a matter of timing, I think. But another thing that is also better now is that, tech is not as isolated, and you see more, tech startups addressing other industries and people from different industries working together on digital projects. And I think in order for wearables to take off, it will really take a lot of co-creation. So I think that's in their favor this time.
But you're not wearing any wearables now.
No, I just have my phone.
So what do you think, Alish?
I think that Amalia actually nailed the point right. The only disruption, or one of the few disruptions that I can think of in the past 10 or 15 years in terms of tech is actually a mobile phone. And if you do a poll of hands here, everybody is going to have a mobile phone with them. If I ask the audience, how many of you have a wristwatch?
How many of you have a wristwatch? Put them up. I have a wrist.
Okay, so it's less than half, which basically halves your target audience by half. If you're doing some kind of wearable that you have to put on your wrist, or you have to persuade them why they would put it on their wrist.
Because there was no phones before. If you're looking in that sense, you're looking at
Sure, no, but I'm just trying to say that from a technical perspective, censoring is not the big issue, even though my CTO would kill me if he would hear me say that. But the real challenge with wearable is how you put a wearable tech into everyday's lives. And I do believe that there basically one thing that most of the time we all wear, and that's clothes.
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time.
So
when the industry is going to figure out how all of my shoes are kind of syncing to each other to count my steps, this is going to be a mainstream market. Until then, what you'll have specialized applications like Google Glass for police officers. You'll have the Nike, whatever it is, for running. You'll have Fitbit for activity monitoring, but all those things actually require a user to make an extra step of wearing that thing, consciously wearing it. When the wearable is going to move into the realm that is going to be self-evident around us, as are light switches, then this is really becoming a revolutionary and all those things.
But that would be like literally wearable. When we then my shirt would have to have the technology in it, like all my shirts.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with how fast the materials, you get new materials, and it gets to be affordable, because there are some things now, but they're not at a pricing point. So even Google Glass, although it looks stupid, if it was super cheap, you would buy it. You wouldn't think twice. But the more the fabrics are becoming smarter and it's more transparent to incorporate technology on it, the better it is. It's still bulky, it's still not there yet, but it's, you can almost feel it happening.
So I'm going to walk into a store in a couple of years and look at shirts and have a green mark. This is technology okay, this is not. So this one will have a sensor in it, this not.
You can't really...
Is that the vision, sort of
maybe you will just have another option with your shirt. The fabrics will be smarter. And it's interesting to see also that a lot of, for instance, a lot of companies that did traditional fabrics in Europe, and they're not used anymore because more fashion houses outsource now in Asia or Eastern than that. So a lot of them have turned into, from becoming the people that produce the top silk for all the luxury industry. Now they're experimenting with new materials and producing fabrics that have different capabilities.
All right, so like, what's each one of you, of the wearables available today, which is like the one that you might actually wear and why?
I think it's still, would I go buy something today? If I would already have, I'm not there yet. Of course, Nike Plus, I think it's nice if you go running and all that. Of course, I don't exercise. As I said, I started off as a developer, so I'm against it. But I think it's also to see, more specialized things. So, for instance, Studio XO that do all these high-end clothes for artists. So they are essentially the tech house of Lady Gaga, and they do all these amazing things they do on stage. And now they're also looking to expand and helping the artists interact with the audience better. So having not something as high-end, as big as a wearable device as what Lady Gaga wears on stage, for instance, but have something that allows you to interact with her at the same time.
Cool.
This is actually a very smart question, because if you look, this is a panel of supposed to be experts, and I haven't bought a wearable in the narrow sense of thing yet. I have a bunch of gadgets on my bicycle, which technically is a wearable, but I haven't bought anything that I would carry around. I have my iPhone, and that's about it.
And you don't want it anywhere right now. You have no need for a wearable.
Exactly. I mean, you have a whole bunch. If you look at a little bit about the articles of what could happen, right? One interesting thing, particularly in clothes, is that every wrinkle that we do actually takes energy from our bodies and puts it into the fabric. If you can harvest that energy, that would be very interesting. But I think we're long way from there. So if I could have a USB slot somewhere on my belt where I can recharge my iPhone, that's a wearable.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
But it would cost like too much right now.
I don't know.
So like, are wearables in the sense that they are...
There is a company in San Francisco, and they do purses, and it charges your phone, actually.
Really?
Everpurse, yes.
Yeah, but it has a battery. It doesn't have a generator.
Yeah, well, they will get there at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'd wear them all, but the problem is currently you can't buy most of them. Your Oculus Rift is still in developer stage. Google Glass you can buy as of like last month, but it's really expensive, so prohibited for most users. And I'm not really bullish on the smartwatch. I'd use a fitness watch for like swimming and running and stuff like that, but I would not use it as an everyday thing. But I think that it's really, really early days of the bubble that could happen, because Samsung Gear, the first one wasn't really good. And the Gear 2 is, it improves on the first one, but it's still not the killer product. It's still not something that, at least in my opinion, that you would like wear and like be proud of. If you want a watch, you want a nice watch. You don't want something that like looks like a small smartphone. So I think that in a couple of years it's gonna be different. Android Wear, Google's platform, we're gonna see first devices this year, and when that starts like happening, then we might see some smartwatches which are really, really gonna be cool. So, but yeah, I'd wear everything. I wear the glass. I wear everything.
Just because it looks
all
cool.
The gadgets.
Yeah, everything.
I have in my bag. I have like a laptop. I have a tablet. I have a couple of phones. So I have.
So you're like a gadget junkie.
Yeah.
But like one thing, but when
but that's your job. You write about these things.
Well, actually, I was a gadget junkie before it was my job. But yeah, you're right.
But just to touch on one thing, it sounds sort of like, so if the talking about the Samsung watch, let's say. So they made the first one, it sucked. They made the second one, it sucked less. They'll make the third one, it'll suck a little bit less. But is that sort of like similar to like the touchscreen telephone? So there used to be a million touchscreen telephones, and they all sucked until like a new player, Apple, sort of came in and like rethought the whole process. Instead of like going slowly, they just revolutionized that thing that was there for years. Do you think that's in wearables? Is that something we're waiting for?
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Do you remember tablets when Microsoft used to do that?
Yeah, they were.
And
like
nobody
crazy.
wanted them. You just had like ads, like doctors using tablets.
I bought them just to have, just so I had it.
And
nothing
nobody
else.
wanted those tablets. And then 10 or 15 years later, Apple introduces their own tablet, but it's in a different ecosystem. It connects to your smartphone. It's similar. And you can point with your finger. You can use it with your finger. And suddenly, it's the thing that everybody wants to have. So yeah, these things could, there could be just like little changes which push these products into the mainstream.
So Samsung should just stop and wait for someone to make the new one.
Well, don't quote me on that one, but you know, there's been rumors about an Apple, possible Apple smartwatch or other wearable for years now, and Apple hasn't done anything. That can be a bad sign, but it can also be a good sign that they're preparing something really big. So we'll see this summer. This summer could change everything.
Really?
But that basically answers what we discussed a few minutes earlier. People don't need this stuff. They buy it because a company like Apple or something else creates an emotional framework around it. And the same thing needs to happen with wearables to go mainstream, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would say, you know, Apple realized pretty soon that they are not just a tech brand, they are a lifestyle brand. So I think most people buy iPhones not for the exact specific features, they just want to have an iPhone.
I think apart from the people in this room, everyone in this city here that bought an iPhone just bought it because it's an iPhone.
It's an
they don't have
iPhone.
one app on it.
And they've certainly, even with the way they seem to be going around wearables, so even, you know, they hired people from Nike, they hired from Burberry, so they're definitely getting ready for that stage with having in mind that this is also not just a technology product, it has to be also a lifestyle and a fashion product as well. And I think in that sense, Europe has a competitive advantage in comparison to US startups around wearables because we have the right people very close to us. So in the same community, the best designers, the best fashion schools, even industrial design, Europe is very strong within that. I mean, Apple had to hire Angela from Burberry all the way from UK because the best people are already here. And if we're talking wearables, and it's really going to be the big things that give us in a very good competitive advantage because we already have the right ingredients, because people will have to co-create in order to make something that is appealing both, you know, aesthetically, but also in a practical way.
We're all from Europe. What do you think about that? Like, is that our thing that we should do? I'm just switching a bit, but it was an interesting point there.
You mean like Europe? Should Europe lead the way?
Yeah, like for wearables, especially since, as she said, like all the sort of fashion, the design, everything is actually from Europe.
Well, I'm not an expert on fashion, but yeah, I mean, definitely it would be really cool to see Europe finally, you know, taking the lead on something in tech. So, I mean, right now, most of the stuff is happening in the US, and you have Apple and Google and everybody's there. But yeah, it would be really cool. I don't know if it can happen. I don't follow the industry, that part of industry that much, but that would be a cool thing. You have a lot of smart people here, definitely, in Europe.
Europe versus US.
No, it's not Europe versus US. We'll get back to the main subject. It was just like an interesting subject. I mean, you do hardware startup as well, but like, let's see, all of the best sort of cars are from here. The best sort of clothes are from Europe. Everything like those things that you can touch is from here, and it'll be really interesting to see like how that goes if Europe, as that sort of has that ecosystem, maybe along with the tech scene, we could actually lead the way for something.
Europe can sell tradition. I don't know if you knew it, but that big refrigerators that, at least in Slovenia, we do them like the American style refrigerator. Do you know how they call them in US?
No.
Italian style.
Italian style.
Yeah, even though they're all made in Korea or somewhere. The idea is that Europe sells tradition, right? Europe seems not to be really good in selling new high-tech stuff. I don't know why. And the point that Amalia had, that Apple is hiring people from fashionable, they are hiring people from traditional industries to create this emotional framework appeal, right? They usually don't hire people to do high tech. I don't know why.
But tradition was high tech at one point.
Sorry?
Tradition was high tech at one point.
True.
Or like new.
Yeah. But if you look at the traditional industries, they were all disruptive. But after 50 years, they become traditional. Like car was a very disruptive technology back then. But US simply didn't have resources. They did have resources to go mass scale with Ford, but apart from that, I do believe that Europe has or that we all have, that there is not a big reason why we shouldn't do it, but it turns out that the resources and funds are still originating from the state. That's
Still, you know, I don't think any company should look like being a US company or being a European company. A company is a company, but you should play to your advantages. So, you know, by having all this talent available here, that's something to your advantage, and you should take advantage if you have one.
All right, I'll just get back to our main thing. So, like, the thing is, in the end, so of the three of you here, none of you wear like wearables, but you would because you're like a junkie gadget, whatever. But so is that like we're making a solution to a problem that we actually don't need?
You have a wearable right now.
I do.
It's making your voice louder.
No, but I have a wearable, so I actually do wear one. Most of them would not, but these tiny ones I would. So
Sorry, nobody needed a tablet. You know, did anybody? When it came out, I was the first guy to say, "What the hell? Why did I need a bigger phone? So how many screens do I?"
But you used piece of paper before.
Well, no, I've stopped using paper like ages ago. But nobody needed a tablet. But you know, when it came out, it was like this perfect thing between using your smartphone and using your laptop. Now you have a tablet, which is like the perfect size between the two, and you can carry it around.
And now you have 3 devices.
So
and like,
yeah, you have more devices. I really thought that when I saw the first iPad, I was like, no, this is not going to work. Well, who would need another gadget like that? But obviously, it did not. So creating solutions to problems that don't exist doesn't mean that it won't work. Doesn't mean it won't be successful.
I agree. It's a part of the research, but it goes back to my original point. Everybody in this room has at least one mobile phone, and that was one disruptive technology that came along, I don't know, 15 years ago, whatever. Everything else is something that we kind of think that we need, or it feels great to have it for a specific purpose. I personally don't need a wearable right now. My phone is nice, and I always have it, but that's about it. We'll still need to find either a way not to be an obtrusive thing. So an unobtrusive thing can even be that you have to put it on in the morning and put it off in the evening. Even that's too much for an average consumer. Or it will have to have a really high utility. And you might have a high utility in like medicine. People with diabetes, I mean, they have to carry something with a serious diabetes. Well, every diabetes is serious, but with the cases when they have to kind of test their blood 5 times a day, if somebody can figure out a way that they can wear something on their wrist so they don't have to poke themselves 5 times a day, this is going to be revolutionary.
all right, and Amalia?
Well, I think as, you know, technology becomes more transparent, this will eventually happen without even realizing it. I mean, we already, you know, there are people that are experimenting with makeup or beauty products that are essentially wearable technology or biocouture. So the more transparent it gets, like if somebody told you, like, early 90s, that you will be carrying a phone around you all the time. You'll say, why would I carry a phone with me all the time? It wouldn't make sense. But, you know, at some point, it just does.
All right. I'd like to just thank my people here up on the round table. Can I have a round of applause for all these people here? Thank you. You're good. You're off.
She believed in fairy tales and princes. He believed the voices coming from his stereo.